first video of 2022, you guys. Okay, so sorry that I have been gone for like the past month or so. It's because I really did not know what video I wanted to make. But then I suddenly remembered I didn't review season 2A of The Owl House yet. So why don't I review that? So that's what I'm going to do today. So get ready because we are going to talk about The Owl House. And my original plan was to wait for like the whole season to be done, but because we're still in that hiatus, that doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon. And also, speaking of which, we won't even have like a full entire season because of the whole Owl House cancellation bull crap that Disney said. And like they're all like, oh, it doesn't even fit the brand, and so this is why we have to cancel it, which can be translated to because we are homophobic and we don't want to make a show that has so much backlash, because if backlash equals no money, and if no money, that equals no profit. So yeah, let's get this video started before I start getting more mad. So just in case of you guys didn't see the video where I basically went over the episode titles for season 2, which was the upcoming season, but now since it's been released, not anymore, you would know that I was really excited for the release of The Owl House season 2, and it's been out for kind of a while now, so might as well review it. And like I said, the full season's still yet to be released, so I might as well do what I can now, just so that I can get those out of the way before the next bunch of episodes come in, which hopefully would be soon. So yeah, let's talk about The Owl House, you guys. So the first episode of the season that we start off with is Separate Tides, and this is honestly probably like the weakest episode of the season. Not that it was a bad episode, it's just compared to the other episodes, this one I could deal without, because while there are important things that this episode has to offer, including plot points, and also gives us really strong moments within this episode, I still feel like it's a little bit lesser than the other episodes. Hopefully I didn't say anything controversial, but yeah, this episode was alright, I guess. Maybe about like a 7 out of 10. But let me go into a little deeper for this episode, because this episode, like I said, does have some really good things to offer. For example, this whole episode is centered around Luz trying to help Ida out, because Ida's always the one providing for her, especially because there's not too much things for Luz to provide herself with, because she's human and the Boiling Isles isn't really something that her human self hasn't adapted to. So because of that, Ida is always sacrificing a lot, and because of that, Luz feels bad, so then she feels like she should be helping Ida. And for overall the whole episode, she basically kind of sacrifices herself in order to help Ida out, and that's not what Ida wants. When she figures out why Luz is doing this, there's even a sweet moment between the two where Ida tells Luz that she isn't a burden and she has actually really helped her in her life, and she's very lucky to have her, which is honestly a sweet moment. And Luz's whole insecurity of how she might be a burden to Ida in this episode actually highlights a really good part to her character, because while we see her goofy side a lot, she does feel like sometimes that she is a burden, which is kind of the reason why she left her dimension in the first place. And she's worried that she might be the same annoyance to Ida or other people in the Boiling Isles. So I think it's really nice of this episode to highlight that side of Luz, and it really does strengthen her character, even Ida, and their whole relationship in general. We also get our first introduction of the Golden Guard, which we will soon find out that his name goes by Hunter, but we will go more into depth in his character when the time comes in this video. But all I have to say about him so far is that I think his introduction is pretty solid, and then it really sets up the mystery for what we should expect down the line and what we want for him as a character when we do get to meet him. And also this episode highlights a little bit of like what Lilith really is when she's not from the Emperor's Coven, I believe that's the name of it. And like, because the last episode of season 1 kind of shows how like she kind of has redeemed and how she's going to basically be part of the Owl House, and which is good that we get to see her a little bit more, and especially because in this episode it kind of introduces a little friendship between her and Hooty, which I think is also really sweet. And I don't know, I just think that their relationship is actually pretty cute, and like their friendship is honestly really wholesome and sweet. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. But overall, this episode is actually pretty okay. This episode's great because Luz is gay for Amity now, so that's all I have to say about this episode. 10 out of 10. No, but seriously though, this episode's actually really great for other reasons, of course. So, one of the most anticipated characters that the audience wants to see from the show is Amity's parents, because we sort of see them in like a flashback of like how they were treating Amity when she was growing up. And I honestly think that like their introduction is honestly really great, because first off, they set them up a little bit in season 1, and now we get to see them, and they're pretty much exactly what we thought they are, really abusive, and they're kind of the reason why Amity is the way she is. And this episode's really great for showing what they do to Amity and how it seriously affected her. This episode is especially great because it kind of has like this bit of a metaphor of how abusive households work with their children, and especially because there's like this little necklace that Amity has, and apparently it's used for her mom to communicate to her, to make her do exactly what she wants. And this is especially important for later on in the episode, which is honestly probably the most powerful thing that Amity has done in terms of her character. And I'm talking about the scene where Amity's standing up for Luz and she breaks the necklace, showing that she doesn't want to be controlled by her mother anymore, which is honestly an extremely good metaphor of how kids break free from their controlling parents. And I will give the Owl House credit for that, because I think it's really done good showcasing what an abusive household looks like, especially through this way of storytelling. And that's like another thing that I want to praise this episode for, because it really does add on a little bit to Amity's character. And of course we see her continue to grow throughout season 1, and I really like how in season 2 they keep doing that, and especially because she learns a very valuable lesson to not listen to her parents and for real just do what's right, learn to become the person that she desires to be and that she wants to be. And especially because she values her friendship with Luz, and also has like a hint of wanting to rekindle her friendship with Willow. And it's honestly really strengthening her character with this episode, and this is why I really love this episode. Oh, and also because Luz is also starting to turn gay for Amity, which is honestly great. My ship is coming to fruition. And no, honestly, it's honestly really cute that Luz is like blushing for Amity. It's like we always see how Amity's kind of a nervous mess, especially because of course it's cute when Amity gets all nervous around Luz, especially because like she's like the serious one, and then the minute when the really joyful character comes in, that's when she becomes like a blushing mess. But it's honestly great to see Luz do that, where like she's like the carefree character, and then she sees Amity who is kind of serious, and then she's blushing about her. That's like, it's honestly so much of a cute dynamic. So that's why I love these two so much. It's so cute and it's so pure. So yeah, this episode 10. This episode really does give justice for King, especially because his whole backstory was very much well needed, especially because I really liked his character, and I think that this episode really does bring out more of what we should know about his said character. This episode was especially needed because even though King was sort of like written to be as like the funny character, I feel like it was necessary for him to have like his own episode of his backstory, especially because we don't really know much about him. We don't know his origin, and he's like kind of one of those characters that kind of stand out, and I feel like it's nice for this episode to exist and to kind of explain his backstory. His backstory is actually really sweet, but also really heartbreaking when he does find out. And also, Baby King is actually really cute. I love it. They should make plush dolls of him. When he does find out that Ida kind of lied to him for being this king of demons, he kind of has sort of like an existential crisis of finding out who he is and where he came from, and who created him and who was his father, I suppose, because we actually do have like this whole mystery later on in the show, like of him trying to find his father. And it was honestly a really cool episode because we really start to understand King a little bit more, and gives some sort of like that sympathy that is needed for King, especially because, like I said, he's sort of like the funny character, but like I said, he's also one of those characters that stand out. So I think it's really nice that this episode kind of shows that side to King, and hopefully we get to see a little bit more of his origin, especially because they are setting up for us to meet his father later down the line, which I hope that is really soon. So yeah, this episode really does set up a lot of things for King as a character. So yeah, good episode. Keeping Up Appearances, which, by the way, clever title, is an episode where we finally get to meet Ida's mom. And of course, Lilith is here, so obviously we get to see this whole family dynamic, and it's honestly, we get to learn that it was honestly not good for the both of them. And even though Ida was the one with the curse beforehand, because Lilith has it now, we sort of see the mother side of how she has to handle Ida's curse, and we get to see like Ida and Lilith's relationship with their mom, and I think it's extremely nice how they portrayed it, because it's been revealed that her mom was actually really, really hard on Ida with her whole curse, making her feel ashamed of the curse and how much of a nuisance and a burden it was on her. And in this episode, we sort of get to see them reconcile, and her mom just saying how no matter what, that she's her daughter and she needs to accept that. And it's honestly a really good reconcile between those two's relationship. As for Lilith, it's been revealed that she didn't get much attention from her mother, and we get to see that reconcile, and like the whole thing of her trying to reconcile with her children is honestly really sweet, and it really does add on to both Ida and Lilith's character, and especially because Lilith needs a little bit more depth in her character, especially because in season 1 she's mostly portrayed as the villain. We don't get to see much of her side of the whole family dynamic, and I think it's really great that this episode showcases that. And it really does make the audience sympathize with Lilith, because if I remember correctly, Lilith wasn't really much paid attention to back in season 1, and this episode really does give her justice, and of course Ida as well. The episode ends with Lilith actually leaving the Owl House and going with her mother, and honestly it's kind of sad for Lilith's character to disappear as like 4 episodes into the second season, and especially because I actually started to like Lilith within the season, especially because her personality was actually kind of really like a nerdy dork, and I think that was really cute that they made her character like that when she's not a villain. And also I really liked her relationship with Hootie, and we even get to like see like this whole goodbye with her and Hootie, and I think it was really sweet as well. But like honestly, Lilith's choice for moving into with her mother, trying to make up for lost time, is honestly, as much as I really don't want her to leave this soon, it's honestly a good decision on her half, because, you know, like I said, she's trying to reconcile, trying to connect with her mother, and it honestly shows that she really does care about her mother, and that she really wants to make up for lost time, especially because, like I said, she wasn't given too much attention to as a child, and by doing this she can make up for that, and the mother can make things right with her. And that's honestly a really sweet ending. And even though like I said, I don't want Lilith to leave this soon, but like, of course, maybe she might make a comeback later on in the season. So, and I hope that is the case. But yeah, pretty good episode. Oh my gosh, Luz is acting gay for Amity again. Oh my gosh! Okay, put Lumity aside. It's time to talk about Gus. So, Gus is an alright character. However, the episode that they gave him back in season 1, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't the greatest either. And it wasn't really memorable. In fact, this character in the yellow shirt, I don't even remember this guy's name. So, wait, actually, I should probably get to know his name. Okay, his name is apparently Matt Holomule. Matt Holomule. What? Why is that name so complicated? I'm gonna call him Matt, okay? Matt. So, basic name, but okay. So Matt here, like, I don't even remember this dude. Like this dude. I mean, yeah, he was like a jerk to Gus. That's all I remember. He was a jerk to Gus. But even his character was actually a little bit better in this episode. But like, you know, justice for Gus, because like, Gus is honestly underrated, and especially because it gives a little bit more into depth in the whole concept of the illusion magic stuff. And yeah, honestly, like, give a little bit more lore back to that whole magic stuff. We need some more magic lore, honestly. Magic lore is the best, and this season does that justice. So this episode, yeah, a little bit better than the other episode that we got of Gus. Okay, one important detail that I forgot to mention in the last episode of like Ida's mom is at the end, apparently she reveals that Luz isn't the only human to be in the Boiling Isles. This other dude was actually there before her, and Luz is just like, oh well, I should probably find out about this guy, so then maybe if he found a way back home to the human dimension, I can do that too. So Luz is going to Amity in the library to ask her if there's like a book about him, and we get to see some Lumity. Like, Lumity is on a roll in this season. Like, oh my gosh, they're such a blushing mess. I love them so much. They're so pure. But also her friendship and soon-to-be relationship with Amity also kind of highlights a little bit back on Luz's character. So she has this, like I said, she has like this whole insecurity thing of like being a burden to others, and especially, and that's also being acknowledged here, where she feels like she's a burden to Amity, and especially because she got Amity fired from her job, and Luz feels so bad about that. And it's honestly super sweet that she tried to get her job back again, because she feels like it's her fault that she got her fired. And it's their dynamic is so cute. And the Lumity kiss. Sweet God, the Lumity kiss. It is so cute. It's just, I screamed when that happened. I screamed. It was so cute. It was so pure. And oh my gosh, it was so cute. Like, I love these two, you guys. Like, I love these two. Okay, before I have a Lumity attack, I'm just gonna like wrap this episode off with Gus and the what did I say that I will call that dude? Matt? The Matt dude. Okay, Matt. So it's kind of hinted that they're kind of like on cool terms now, which is honestly great. You know, like it like it like I said, this episode honestly does a little bit better for Gus, and they basically work together to stop this purple hair girl from like stealing this thing. It's like yeah, it's like yeah, they're okay, they're fine, I guess they're all right. And I can already tell that people are shipping these two. Are people shipping these two? I'm pretty sure people are shipping these two. Not that I have anything against that. It's just you know, just why it's like give the dude just a little bit more like character before I can care at least, okay? But like, you know, Gus is cool, okay? Gus is underrated. I like Gus. I don't know about how you guys feel about Gus. I like Gus. He's cool. Oh, and I forgot to mention Amity changed her hair because she doesn't want to follow her mother's orders anymore, and she just wants to be herself now. So yeah, no, honestly, that's great. Like, whether you like her purple hair or not, you should at least care about what it represents for her character. It's just like she's finally free, and like. And good for my girl Amity. Like she deserves to be free after all this crap she's been through. She deserves to be free, and yes, it's a good episode, pretty solid episode. You know, there's Lumity. I get to care a little bit more about Gus now, and then there's Lumity, and then there's also the other guy who I care a little bit more about, but it's fine, okay. And then there's Lumity, and Lumity. Did I ever mention Lumity? Yeah. So this episode really. So Hunting Palisman is the introductory episode of the Golden Guard, whose real name goes by Hunter. And look at this dude, you guys. Look at this dude. He's like 16. He's literally my age, okay? Like, I could go to freaking school with this dude. And like like he all this time he's like he could be like a classmate of mine at this whole time I thought he was gonna look like the creepiest design ever, when in actuality he could be a potential classmate in my school, which is I don't know how to feel about that. That's a little bit weird. So apparently he was taken in by Belos at a very young age because he came from a line of not so powerful witches, and because of that Belos kind of took him in. And this honestly was really interesting for us to know, and it just shows that, like, especially of how Belos treats him now, he kind of just sees him as like a weapon that he can use, something that he can use in order to prepare for the Day of Unity, which is what we also saw at the beginning of the episode. And it just honestly shows how that like Hunter is also broken. And honestly, there's like so many things in this show that's honestly great, of how like they show like kind of characters who are kind of like abused and had like really crappy childhoods and kind like grew up in a very crappy environment. And it's really great to see, you know, the Hunter, apparently this is his backstory of why he's doing this, why his betrayal of Luz, which happens like in the last few minutes of the episode. And it just really adds on to Hunter's character, and I really do like his character now, because like before it just seems like the Golden Guard, and he's just like, it seems like a kind of annoying, but like now he's like more into depth, and I think it's like really cool. He's just overall a really cool character now. Which, by the way, Hunter and Luz's interactions were actually extremely entertaining to watch, and hopefully he gets some sort of redemption throughout the show, and that'll be really cool to see, because like these two, it's like a really cool duo. Speaking of Luz, she's also asking herself the question of what she's going to do when she goes back to her dimension, and this is also a really good plot point to acknowledge in her character. And yeah, and I thought it was really nice for them to add that in, and especially because she was like didn't know what to do. It's like if she didn't get a palisman, and what she was going to do with it anyways when she came back to Earth. And overall, yeah, this episode was actually pretty interesting to think about. Ida's Requiem is, in a word, beautiful. One of the reasons is because we get to see Ida's vulnerable side, because throughout what we have seen so far, Ida has learned to love and appreciate King and Luz, and since Luz is going to be leaving soon for her dimension, King is also implied to be leaving in this episode when he says that he wants to make changes in how he wants to leave in order to find his father, to find who he is. And when Ida hears this, she feels very, very sad about it, because like I said, she has learned to appreciate both of them, and the fact that they're both leaving, it kind of breaks her, and it really does shows how much she has improved as a character, learning to appreciate others and learning to love others. And I think that's pretty cool. We apparently also get to find out that Ida was in a past relationship with this person named Rain. Now, Rain is honestly an interesting character, and I was a little bit iffy on them a little bit when on their first introduction, but after a while I actually really started to like their character. And honestly, them in the reaction with like Ida and like their whole romantic interactions with each other is honestly super cute. And compared to this to Lumity is like this pairing is a little bit more mature, because like, yeah, of course Luz and Amity might be a little bit relatable to those who are at a younger at a younger age watching these episodes, but like if like those who are in an older age probably get to relate to Rain and Ida because they're like pretty much adults and it's a little bit more mature. So yeah, that just makes it has like its own charm and its own cute for their own charm and like their own little thing as like a pairing as a couple. So I think that's pretty cool. So as for Rain, apparently they're a part of this rebel group where they help liberate witches like Ida who are free and don't want to be part of the Emperor's Coven. And so this is why I honestly thought that their character is great, and this whole concept of like this rebel group trying to help liberate those witches who don't want to be part of the coven is honestly a cool concept. So that's nice. And also Rain is non-binary, which I think is pretty cool for non-binary representation. Also they have stage fright, which haha, I can relate to that so much. But honestly, the highlight of the episode is this scene that I have right now. The moment where they're trying to fight off magic with like their music, and it's animated so well, and it's such a beautiful scene. The music, the animation, the whole meaning behind it with their past romantic past and now and them coming together is honestly like the highlight of the episode, and if not the episode, probably the entire show. It's honestly one of the most beautiful things I have ever seen, and it's so amazing, and it's just so soothing and so great to watch. And honestly, like I listen to the music of this scene like a lot. It's such a beautiful scene, and it's just so beautiful, you guys. Such a mesmerizing moment of animation. So the end of the episode honestly ends on a good note, and I say good note because earlier on Rain gets taken away, and which is honestly so dark, and I really hope that Rain's okay. But at this episode, like I said, ends on a positive note where it turns out King isn't going to leave, and he's actually going to stay with Ida, and like he's actually going to change his name. That's all apparently he wanted to tell her this whole time. And yeah, and I thought it was a really cool scene. But honestly, I might as well talk about Rain because I feel bad. So like, what the hell happened to Rain? Like I need to know. Like we never see them again until like I think like in another flashback later on in the next episode, which the next episode's great, but like for real, what happened to Rain? Like, oh my, this is probably the episode where a lot of people probably want to hear other people's opinions about, and all I have to say is yeah, this episode's really good, and especially because of Lumity becoming canon, of course. So yeah, Lumity does become canon with the help of Hooty, which is honestly kind of funny how like I believe the most hated character of the Owl House is the reason why the most beloved ship of the community is finally canon. So I find that kind of funny. And besides, I'm one of those people who actually didn't mind Hooty. I actually kind of liked Hooty's character, so I don't know, that's just me. But put the Lumity aside for a second, and let's talk about this episode as a whole. And I thought this was like really good to acknowledge all three characters of Ida, King, and Luz. And for King especially because the episode where he finds out that like that he really doesn't know who he is. I'm glad that there's a follow-up and with this episode trying to figure out who he is, and Hooty tries to help out, isn't really successful. Basically tells King to love himself, and King can't even love himself if he doesn't even know what he is, which is exactly what he's trying to find out. However, we do get something else because of Hooty. Because of King getting mad about not finding the answer to who he is, he has like this magical beam that comes out of him every time he gets mad, and I feel like this will be an important plot point too later on, and at least it gives us a little bit more of a clue so that we can go into the right steps to finding out who he is, and maybe even finding out who his father is. Hope for that to happen in season 2B. And overall, the whole King part is honestly really interesting, and his King's whole internal conflict is honestly entertaining and very amazing to watch. For him helping Ida is honestly made me remind myself that Ida's actually a lot more important than I originally thought. Hooty basically makes her fall asleep, and Ida's like stuck in this trance of all of these different plot points in her life, and basically how her curse was basically ruining her relationships with her parents, with Rain, and basically ruining her entire life. And I honestly, the reason why I feel like that this kind of maybe made me think that Ida is actually a lot more important is because this whole story is honestly tragic when you think about it. Like, it's this whole condition that she has where she can't even get close to people, and I feel like to some extent lots of people can relate, because there's always something holding us back from relationships, and sometimes it can ruin us. And I honestly really love the revelation that she has later on, just like how her mother did, where she says that she has to learn to love every single part of Ida, including her curse. In this episode, Ida has to learn to accept that it's a part of her as well. And we see her basically talking to this owl, which I believe is supposed to represent her curse. And we see her trying to make peace with it, and basically metaphorically saying that she's trying to make peace with herself, trying to realize that the curse is a part of her no matter what she does, and she has to accept herself for that. And also, side note, the owl looks extremely cute. I don't know why I feel like saying that. It looks really cute. I really like owls, and the way this owl looks is really cute. Oh, and apparently she changes her form now, and she actually looks 100 times cooler than how she originally was. Not that she wasn't cool before, she is, but like it's like cranks up her coolness level to like 1000. So yeah. And the part where we've all been waiting for me to talk about, the part where Hooty tries to help Luz, trying to ask out Amity. And this whole scene, I honestly feel so bad for Luz, because this whole scene was like, you could feel the pain and awkwardness that she's feeling. And I think it's both sweet and super awkward, and just it's like, I hate using this word, but kind of cringy to watch. But I think it was a really cute scene either way. And the thing that Luz doesn't even realize is that Amity's kind of enjoying it. So that just also makes it a lot more sweeter that Amity actually does appreciate the gesture. That, I mean, Luz didn't make this gesture, but she likes it nonetheless. And because Amity actually does like what's going on, because Luz doesn't like it and tries to destroy everything, it kind of makes it look like she actually doesn't feel the same way, and kind of breaks Amity's heart, which is honestly really heartbreaking. And this whole thing is where like the whole episode goes downhill. Okay, not downhill, because if I say downhill, it sounds like this episode's gonna get bad. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I mean by downhill is Hooty. Okay, Hooty starts destroying the owl house, which I'm just like, Hooty, take a chill pill. So the Owl House crew thinks of a plan trying to make Hooty calm down by trying to convince him that he actually did help them out that day. And while Ida and King are satisfied with what Hooty has done, to an extent, of course, Luz still hasn't done what she wanted to do, which is the reason why Hooty keeps on destroying the house. And so that's why Ida's trying to help Luz ask out Amity. So as Luz was trying to get the confidence and finally going to say it, Amity blurts out the words, "Do you want to go out with me instead?" And this whole scene was honestly super cute. The thing that makes this ship super cute is how young they are, and it's just, and you know, like kids will be kids, they'll be really pure about it. And honestly, this ship is so pure. It's so wholesome to watch it. And then they both agree to go out with each other, thus making Lumity canon. So yeah, this was a good episode. And hopefully, I don't know if anybody else hates Hooty, but honestly, like I said, I think it's hilarious that Hooty's the one that made Lumity happen. And Hooty's honestly was a funny character throughout this episode, and it was really entertaining to watch. And so, Eclipse Lake, we get more Hunter. We also get more Lumity. Yay! And what do you think is better when you get Hunter and Lumity combined? You get a well-animated fight scene. Also, these two would probably be a cool duo. Imagine the power they would have if they get Luz, Amity, and Hunter together. That's just a thought, okay? We're just gonna see down the line to see if Hunter will interact with both of them. Because I think it would be super chaotic if all three of them were to just like just be in an episode together. Like, it would be too chaotic. Also, apparently Luz is sick in this episode, and nobody knows what's going to happen to her. And also the mouse, which I forgot to mention the mouse. The mouse thing that shows a projector when it eats books or something. It reveals that like there's like a thing to go back into Luz's dimension with Titan's blood, and that's how like the other guy got back to the Earth realm. It's just a thing. It's just a thing that they need. Okay, the whole episode are trying to get it. Also, off topic, why the hell does this Philip Human dude look like Alexander Hamilton? I wanted to get that off of my chest. Okay, like he looks like Alexander Hamilton. I'm just saying. Oh, and there's also this little thing where, like, apparently, like, Amity's, like, misreading these, like, messages that Luz is sending her while she's on her journey to get Titan's blood. Where Hunter just, like, messing with her, being all, like, it looks like Luz wants to break up with you or something, and like, Amity's, like, starting to believe that, and I'm just like, girl, you just started dating her, like, Like, you're worrying about this whole breakup stuff now. You think Luz is that much of a jerk to like being like, oh, we've been dating for like a day now or something, or like I don't know how much time it's been since the last episode, but I'm just gonna assume not very long. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna break up with you even though we just dated for like a few days now. Like, what kind of person would do that? Like, does Luz look like the type of person who would do that? And I mean, it's revealed later on. She figures out being like she is kind of being dumb. Where like, of course, Luz would never do that. Okay, so I don't know why that thing just kind of bothered me. Like, you guys just started dating in the last episode. Why the heck would Luz break up with you immediately? Like, why am I so wrapped up about this? By the way, I mentioned the fight scene earlier. So yeah, they both need the Titan's blood, and like apparently, like, you know, like Amity for it to help Luz, and Hunter to like give it to Emperor Bellows, and they're both like, there's like this really cool fight scene. I would show it, but I don't want to get copyrighted. So yeah, you guys could just, if you guys watched it, then you guys know what I'm talking about. So yeah, it's a really cool fight scene. Like the animation though, it's like super smooth. How would they do that? It's super great to look at. You could just watch this show just for the animation alone, you guys. So yeah, that's the end of the episode, and also the key's broken of the Titan's blood key is broken. So yeah, that's I don't know, like, what the hell does that mean? So yeah, that's a great episode, pretty solid episode. Yesterday's Lie might not be the last episode of season 2, but it sure as heck feels like it, because the cliffhanger that this episode has at the end, honestly, it kind of sets up as if like this was the last episode of this season, and season 3 is going to pick up exactly from where this cliffhanger starts. So it's a really good episode, and it really keeps the audience engaging. So it picks off exactly from where the last episode has ended, where they got the Titan's blood, and Luz is trying to go back to the human realm, or at least have some sort of connection with her mother back over there. And by doing so, they've made this really deformed door, which, you know, progress at least, because they made a door. Also, there's this one moment where she's over there, and then she's just like, I want to see Amity, and it's just, Luz, I know you love Amity, but you gotta give her privacy, girl. Like, come on. Luckily, she catches herself before doing so, which... good on her, honestly. Respect your girlfriend's privacy. So in this episode, we're introduced to this character named V. Now, V is an interesting character because she's kind of like the parallel to Luz. Because apparently V went to the human realm because she apparently was hunted down by, of course, from the members of the Coven, and she basically had no choice but to go to the human realm, and she just happens to walk upon Luz's mother, and she realizes how much of a great mother she was. And when she found Luz, she's just super confused as to why she left the human realm, because Luz really did not like the human realm. She felt like an outcast. She felt like she didn't belong, and V just doesn't understand that, because she after being with her mom for like the past few months, she realized that like Luz had it all, and she's super confused as to why she left. And honestly, I understand both of these character sides, because I honestly understand and relate to an extent so much to Luz, because Luz was an outcast, and honestly sometimes I feel like an outcast as well. I don't have the same exact personality as Luz, maybe like close to Amity's personality, but I understand where Luz is coming from, where she feels like an outcast, feels like she doesn't belong, and feels like a burden to some people, and she just doesn't feel like she really belongs in the human realm. This is why she came to the Boiling Isles, in a place where she can be herself and just be her carefree self, and just go on these amazing adventures, things that she can never do back in the human realm. And I also understand V, even though like I kind of like take a little bit more on Luz's side. I understand V because, of course, Luz had a loving mother. Of course she does. In fact, to an extent, Luz's mom kind of reminds me of my mom, honestly, especially for the scene that I'm going to demonstrate later. But V has seen like how much luck and how fortunate Luz was to have such a loving family, and she just doesn't understand why Luz left, and Luz had a choice, unlike V, where she has to come to the human realm by like in order for her to survive. So I understand both of these characters, and this, it's such a good parallel for these characters, and I understand both of them exactly where they're coming from. But honestly, this most gut-wrenching part of the episode, and probably even the series as a whole, is when Luz talks to her mother, finally seeing her and telling her everything, how she can't come home, and even though she can't come home, she's matured so much while staying in the Boiling Isles, and saying how it was never her mother, it was because Luz just doesn't feel like she belonged, at least in other places that wasn't her home, but she just wanted to let her mom know it wasn't her fault that she left. And it was just such a encouraging moment, especially because, like I said, I related to Luz a lot, and me and my mom sometimes even have like this sort of like discussions like this, and it's just like, even like a few weeks ago, I feel like we had this discussion as well, like me feeling like an outcast, no one was like there to help me out, and it's like Luz kind of like has that whole thing as well, where like she had nobody, and this whole thing really hits close to home, and it's like it's at like an uncomfortable degree, because I really did feel a lot from this episode, because it really did hit me a lot, and it's this scene was honestly super good, and it's like super heartbreaking. If you haven't seen this episode, you need to watch it. It's such an emotional episode, and probably the most emotional this series has ever been, ever. And for this episode to be the last episode to where we're currently are right now, honestly makes this episode a lot more heartbreaking. We don't know what Luz is going to go through after this. We don't know how her mother's going to go through after this, especially because she realized her daughter wasn't there the whole time, and she has no idea when her real daughter's coming back. Luz doesn't know what she's going to do when she comes back, what she's going to do when she leaves the Boiling Isles. Because in the Boiling Isles, she has matured. She has amazing friends. She lives with the most powerful witch over there. She has an amazing girlfriend. And overall has like the perfect life. She can be herself, while over there, all she wants is her mother. This is why this episode is super great. And Dana, I really hope that the next few episodes are just as great as this, because this episode is honestly my favorite episode of the series. Okay, so that was a lot, but those are my thoughts on each of the episodes of season 2A. And overall, I think that the season's really great, and yeah, I can't wait for season 2B. However, this is not where I'm going to end the video, because I want to also address the whole Owl House cancellation thing before I do end this video, because I feel like it should be addressed. The Owl House, a Disney animated series which received heaps of praise for positive LGBTQ representation, was unfortunately cancelled before it was really took off. Its second season hasn't even finished airing, and it was announced that season 3 would wrap up the show across 3 specials rather than 20 episodes. So, because of this whole thing of doesn't fit the brand, Disney apparently decides that the Owl House shouldn't even get a continue. Well, they are continuing, but they like not as originally planned. Like it's this honestly sucks, because no wonder the hiatus is long, because Dana's probably like fixing everything up, and And it gets even worse as the article goes on. They just wanted to be done with the Owl House, and this was the perfect chance to do that. Even getting the Consolation Season 3 episodes was difficult, apparently. Hard to say. I wasn't allowed to be a part of any conversations until I was just told. Wasn't even allowed to present my case, she continued. Terrace went on to say that she felt the differences that made the show unique, and a slightly older audience meant it didn't fit their brand, and so that's why the show was cut. Okay, it's like, first off, Dana didn't even get a chance to like present her case about this whole thing, so that's obviously a red flag. And not only that, it's like the whole doesn't fit their brand thing. I'm pretty sure no, I'm like 99% sure that like the people who read this don't believe the BS, okay? Because it really is BS. They are clearly doing this because of homophobic tendencies, okay? Because since they aren't profiting off an LGBTQ show in certain areas of the world, they just want the money, okay? And it's not about the money, Disney. It's about the representation. So it's about making people feel like they're included, feel like they're matter, feel like they matter, feel like they're valid. And here you guys are doing this, canceling it because you guys are because apparently you guys are listening to the religious parents who let their kids watch cartoons and stumble across this. Like, it's, I mean, what do I even expect from Disney? Like, I don't think there's gonna be a day where we're actually gonna see like actual LGBTQ representation. I mean, there is, but there's not like, you know, like the Owl House. Of course, we all know it made history, and I'm proud of that, of what it has accomplished. But something always has to happen to LGBTQ stuff like this. It really is sad to see, especially as someone who really likes this show and wants to continue watching. It sucks that the creator is like, you know, trying to fix everything up, trying to make it fit the whole ordeal with Disney, and I just think it's really unfair. So, but there's nothing we can do about it. And but the good thing is that we'll at least have an ending to the show. We'll have a proper conclusion, and it will be wrapped up nicely. So that's the only thing I have to say about that. So, bullcrap reason, but at least we get more Owl House. Okay, so now that was my whole take on the Owl House. And like I said, season 2 was amazing, and it really is a shame that the Owl House has to get all this crap from Disney. It really is. And I am gonna, of course, still watch the show because I really do like the show. The show's interesting as hell. Like, it's great. Okay, and so I'm gonna support it as much as I can. And you know, I encourage all of you who watch it to support it as much as you can, because you know they need it and they deserve it. It's a really good show. And okay, so by the way, I'm recording this on a different day from what I recorded all the other parts of the video. So apparently I found out, this is just a rumor by the way, somebody confirmed this in the comments if this is true, but I heard that the Owl House is actually coming back in March. Now the reason why I say it's probably just a rumor, because like I feel like there should be like an article or something that's claiming that, and I haven't seen anything about that. And besides, March is like what, next month? It's February, okay, where I'm currently recording at the time of currently recording this, it is February. So next month will be March, and it's like I don't think it is March because I don't see anything. But like I said, please someone confirm in the comments and give me something to like show that yeah, it is coming in March. But I don't know if I believe that. But you know, if it is, that's great, you know. But yeah, one could only hope. So yeah, that's my take on the Owl House. What do you guys think about season 2A of the Owl House? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you agree with any of my points? Did you disagree? Let me know in the comments. I know I say this in all my videos, but I really like hearing what you guys have to say about things. So yeah, tell me your opinion on the Owl House. So stay tuned for the next video, because it's something that I wanted to talk about for like a while now. So the winged unicorn has to fly away now. See you next time, guys. Take care.